Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and today I'm going to talk about Ibrahim Raisi's 3-day visit to Pakistan. I think it has the potential of becoming a regional game changer. I don't think it's going to have a global impact, but it could have a transformative effect on the Central Asian region, uh, basically between from Turkey all the way to Pakistan via Iran and Central Asia. And so that is why I think this particular visit needs to be studied a bit more carefully than most people seem to be doing. First of all, it's very clear that this trip was planned long before Iran's military exchange with Israel, which in itself was unprecedented because it's the first time that the two countries attacked each other so directly and so openly. And the second thing is that while a lot of people are reading this particular trip of Ibrahim Raisi in the context of Iran's conflict with the West, I think the more interesting uh, dimensions of this particular visit is non-West related. It is about East, it is about BRICS, it's about the group of nations which are challenging Western hegemony, such as Iran, China, Russia, to some extent, even Turkey. And Pakistan could potentially be part of this group. When Imran Khan was the Prime Minister of Pakistan, he did try to build similar partnerships with Malaysia and Turkey. And so I think in that context, this should be seen as Iran's effort to extend its influence in the Muslim world, in the Sunni world, especially towards Pakistan, which at the moment may be feeling abandoned by both America and to a great extent even by its Arab allies, Saudi Arabia and UAE, who are much closer now to India than they have been to Pakistan in the past few years. So I think that is why this particular trip is important and deserves greater attention. But before I share my thoughts about Ibrahim Raisi's visit to Pakistan and what its regional and long-term implications are, subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this with your social political network. So let's get the basics out of the way. We all are aware of the military exchanges, the limited military exchanges that Iran had with Pakistan, and they shot at each other. Iran attacked anti-Iranian terrorist groups in Pakistan. Pakistan retaliated by attacking anti-Pakistan groups in Iran, and this was mostly in January. And then the two nations have been pretty much at calm. In fact, the way this particular trip has unfolded with many aspects besides strategic dialogue shows that the two countries have put that particular exchange behind. But from a security perspective and geopolitical perspective, that question should not be ignored as to why each country has become a home to either insurgents or terrorists or militants that feel free that they can live freely in one country and attack the neighboring country, creating tensions between the two countries. So I think the first thing that perhaps they should be talking about, and Raisi did meet with Pakistan's military chief Asim Munir, and what they need to do is to set up a joint task force to not only keep the border free of militant and insurgent activities, but also to ensure that there is sharing of intelligence and cooperation on making sure that Pakistani militants don't find a safe haven in Iran and Iranian terrorists don't find a safe haven in Pakistan. So basically, they need to have a joint counterterrorism task force that will prevent each country's home becoming a base which threatens the other country. There's a lot of pressure on Pakistan at the moment, which Iran can potentially exploit. The pressure is coming from from Pakistan's failed economy, and because of its failed economy, it has put a lot of constraint on foreign policy choices for Pakistan. It is making Pakistan very dependent on the United States and multilateral institutions like the IMF, which the United States controls. It has to be very servile to Arab nations, especially United Arab Emirates, as well as uh, Saudi Arabia, from whom it continues to borrow money to remain basically to prevent itself from going bankrupt. And it also continues to struggle to balance itself between the two superpowers, China and the United States. China has been very benign towards Pakistan, extending loans, and in spite of the violence against Chinese engineers, etc., China has not gotten tough with Pakistan and has not even prevented Pakistan from making overtures to the United States and continuing to have some kind of an ongoing diplomatic effort to get closer to the United States. So, in that sense, Pakistan has a lot of balancing to do. And given the fact that it has now two volatile boundaries with India as well as Pakistan, with Afghanistan, with the threat of TTP, which is in Afghanistan, and the border dispute with the Taliban of Afghanistan, and the rise of the call for a Khan Bharat in India, there must be genuine fears in Pakistan that if Prime Minister Modi gets elected for a third time, then it could be a major potential threat to Pakistan if India decides to militarily take back POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So for Pakistan, it should be living in a geopolitical nightmare given its weakness and the great challenges that it faces both regionally and globally. It has no leverage over the United States anymore, so it cannot, use its geostrategic position to either get money or aid or concessions from the United States, which means that the U.S. will impose sanctions on Pakistan if it does anything that the United States doesn't like, and has already started, imposing sanctions on companies that are helping Pakistan's ballistic missile capability. So already we have seen in the last few weeks that the United States has indirectly used the sanctions as a weapon against Pakistani interests. So if Pakistan were to get too close to Iran from a strategic perspective, especially renewing the major problem in the two countries, which is the gas pipeline, which they had planned some 20 years ago to build, and Iran has done its part, and Pakistan has not built its end of the gas pipeline, and Pakistan now owns about $18 billion in penalties to Iran for not fulfilling its part of the project. And the US is clearly opposed to this, and if the Pakistanis start building that pipeline, it is quite possible the United States might impose some sanctions on Pakistan, and Pakistan, like I said, has no leverage now left to go and tell the US, look, give us that $18 billion so we can pay off Iran. Otherwise, we will owe Iran $18 billion in punitive damages if we don't fulfill this contractual obligation that we have with Iran. For the US, it will be far more cheaper to impose some sanctions on Pakistan or even on Pakistani government leaders for collaborating with Iran than to pay off Pakistan's obligations to Iran. So in that sense, Pakistan's strategic, shall we say, opportunities and strategic choices and autonomy is significantly limited. The two countries, Pakistan and Iran, are very good examples of let's say you have a choice. Should I completely align with the United States and become a kind of a slave to US foreign policy, or should I become someone who is resistant to the United States foreign policy and oppose it? So you have Iran, which has opposed the United States for the last 40 years, and you have Pakistan, which has basically kowtowed to the United States for most of its life, and neither is in a good shape. Neither is Pakistan secure, neither is Pakistan economically stable, neither is Pakistan a thriving democracy like South Korea and Japan, which are better democracies than the United States today, or even Taiwan. So Pakistan's alliance with the United States has not made it as prosperous as, say, South Korea, Taiwan, and Japanese alliance with the United States. So for Pakistan, this is tricky. that it has not really benefited from in terms of becoming a robust democracy and a robust economy, in spite of having a very long and prosperous, well, not prosperous, but a very long and financially beneficial relationship with with the United States, and primarily because of the terrible leaders they seem to have, who are basically corrupt or not really interested in developing the country, are mostly focused on basically lining their own pockets. So it is this culture of corruption which goes from top to bottom in Pakistan. It's like a termite that's eating that country from inside and basically hollowing it out. So, given that kind of leadership, can Pakistan take advantage of the current opportunity that Iran presents? Iran needs partners in the Muslim world. It is getting increasingly isolated, and as it becomes to get inadvertently dragged into a war with Israel, a war that Israel desperately wants, and a war that a section of America also wants, so that they can completely eliminate Iran's capacity to be such a big problem that it has become for these countries in the Middle East, including for Saudi Arabia. So for Iran, it needs partners, it needs friends. Having a major country like Pakistan on its border, which could become a great asset in a long war. If Iran is involved in a war that lasts for several months, food, supplies, all of this could be smuggled across the border from Pakistan into Iran, and having a friendly country can be advantageous. The people-to-people relations between Pakistanis and Iranians is not bad, in spite of sectarianism, in spite of the fact that Pakistan has the Shia-Sunni problem, which has been exacerbated by the Saudi-Iranian rivalry. I think that the people-to-people relations in Iran and Pakistan are much better than the country-to-country relations. So Ibrahim Raisi's visit with his wife, with a large number of ministers from his cabinet to discuss cultural growth. They're discussing movies, which is a good thing. They're also talking about having many trade partnerships. Nothing much has been said at least till now publicly about what's going to happen with regards to the pipeline, and not much discussion of serious strategic and military cooperation of any kind. But they have talked about taking their mutual trade to $10 billion. At the moment, the Iran-Pakistan trade is $2 billion, and clearly a lot of it is probably limited by the U.S., the shadow of the United States over Pakistan's relation with Iran. But there's also informal trade, a lot of smuggling, a lot of unrecorded trade goes on, and I don't know how big it is. Is it in billions or it is just in millions? We have no idea, because at least I haven't been able to find any reports, or whether any think tank or whether any government is keeping track of what's happening. If you remember, when there was a crisis of dollars in Pakistan, there was a lot of focus on the informal trade between Pakistan and Afghanistan as to how people were going into Afghanistan and exchanging dollars at a different rate or buying stuff. So I have no idea whether Iran is selling oil indirectly through informal channels into Pakistan. We do know that formally Iran does sell electricity to the province of Balochistan. But anyway, so this is one of the critical issues. Can they really ramp up their mutual trade? This is a problem that even India has. 5-6 years ago, I think in 2017, 18, 19, India-Iran trade used to be about $17 billion. Iran was one of the top 10 trading partners of India, and then because of US secondary sanctions, India-Iran trade has now come down to just around $2.5 billion. So India has lost a lot of potential to export because of these secondary sanctions. Iran and Pakistan have had strategic partnerships for a long time. From 1964 till around 1979, till the Iranian revolution, the Islamic revolution of Iran, Turkey, Pakistan, and Iran had created a kind of a governmental organization called RCD, Regional Cooperation and Development. And I don't know really what they did together, but there were lots of issues of common shared stamps. So these countries would have common stamps. And I don't know what more they did from RCD. If someone is interested, they can probably do a master's thesis on this. And then in 1985 onwards, Iran again revived RCD, this time with many other countries. So it is called ECO, Economic Cooperation Organizations, based in Iran. It is like ASEAN or like the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And it's been there since 1985. There are 10 countries which are members of ECO. Let me see if I can remember them. Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, the 5 stans, 7, Afghanistan, 8, Azerbaijan is also part of it. So Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, Afghanistan, and the 5 Central Asians, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. So those are the 10 countries, which I'm happy that I could count them all. Anyway, those are the 10 countries which are part of ECO. And it's a grouping of 500 million people. It would be a small BRICS. And Iran and Pakistan are now also members of BRICS, along with India, China, Russia, etc. So there is a lot of scope for genuinely serious cultural as well as economic partnership. What will freak out the United States and Israel and other Western countries is if Iran and Pakistan indulge in serious military kind of partnerships. For example, Pakistan buys a lot of expensive drones from Turkey, but if it were to buy the lesser expensive drones from Iran, now that would freak out India, it would freak out the United States, and then there would be lots of pressure on Pakistan. But if they had exchanges, established universities, scholarships, lots of students going both sides of the border, including scientific and environmental cooperation, I don't think that will generate that much worry and concern. And I think that is where these countries should focus on, is improving the border situation, fighting extremism on both sides of the border, improve cultural and educational, and improve economic trade. I think this is what these 2 countries should focus on. These are 2 so-called Islamic republics, and in spite of the sectarian differences, they have long histories. I'm sure there are many Pakistanis who speak Persian very well. Most of Urdu poetry is infused with the Persian language. They share common icons. Iqbal is very famous and popular, and his poetry is very popular in Iran. And of course, Iranian Sufi scholars, Rumi's Masnavi is in Persian. And so this collaboration on the language basis on Farsi and cultural history, etc., these 2 countries can do a lot to bring them together. But in the long run, there's going to be a lot of pressure, even from Saudi Arabia and UAE, not to go too close. But Pakistan can play this card that if the Arab countries become too close to India, it can then leverage that by becoming too close to Iran and make the Arab countries a bit more uncomfortable. But like I said, the room for maneuvering for Pakistan, because of its economic weaknesses, political instability that is inside, and all the challenges it faces, it has very little strategic autonomy, and so it will have to play it by the ear. But I think these 2 countries, which are neighbors, if they collaborate and if they cooperate, they can have a game-changing effect on regional security, on regional trade. And if they actually empower ECO, the in Central Asia connection with these countries, there is a possibility of a free market emerging, which could have a very positive impact on the economies in the region. So I hope this brief update on Ibrahim Raisi's visit to Pakistan gives you something to think about. This is from an India's perspective. It is a development that India needs to worry about. India is investing in Iran. India has commitments to use Iran as a connectivity to Central Asia through the Chabahar port. India is investing in Afghanistan, and a lot of this is premised on the fact that India-Pakistan relations are not good. Pakistan is not allowing India connectivity to Central Asia. But if Iran and Pakistan were to get much more closer, then it raises an issue: can Iran manage both, like India is trying to do? Be friendly with Russia as well as with the US, be friendly with the Arabs as well as with Israel. Then can Iran also be like India, be friendly with Pakistan as well as with India? And that would be a very interesting thing to observe from the Indian point of view. If you're looking at this visit from Delhi, they should be concerned about it. While the good news is that because of the incompetence of the Pakistani government, I don't think, and given the circumstances it is in, I don't think it can fully maximize the benefits of a partnership with Iran. And given Iran's stubbornness and desire to dominate a region which is actually much beyond its capabilities. Iran is not the richest country in the Middle East, and it wants to dominate countries which have lots of money and are willing to basically sell everything to the United States to get help to keep Iran out. I'm not sure that Iran had expected that even Jordanian Air Force would come to Israel's rescue. And when Israel attacked Iran, no country's Air Force came to protect it. But when Iran attacked Israel, which is potentially a more powerful country than Iran, Britain, US, Jordan, Saudi Arabia came to its aid. So for Iran needs to improve the way it deals with its neighbors in the Gulf, and before it can continue to have a much more positive relations with countries like Pakistan. So I hope you found this interesting. So subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this with your social political network. I'm your host. Until next time, see you soon. Be safe, be happy, and Muqtedar Khan.